ओके. नमस्कार. आजच्या सेशनला सगळ्यांचं MVSakhyaच्या नवरात्री प्रोग्रामला नारी शक्ती सगळ्यांचं खूप खूप स्वागत. I'm very thankful that all of you decided to come to this program today. Money. Money is a big thing with everybody. कोणीही ह्याच्याशिवाय राहू शकत नाही आणि we need to be very practical about it, opportunistic about it also. And we have somebody who is great at managing money. So there is a disclaimer before we start the program. This is a program only for information. Whatever NitinApte mentions in this program is his opinion, his experience talking. Uh, we will still suggest that you reach out to your financial representative or money manager for any other question. हा फक्त information देण्यासाठी हा program आज ठेवलेला होता. So that the disclaimer is like listen to him objectively, practically, and then make your decision along with your money manager. So Marathi Vishwa and Marathi Vishwa Sakhya is not recommending anything that Nitin is going to be saying today. So this is the disclaimer for today's program. NitinApte, I have known NitinApte as somebody's family member first, and then when I got elected to the board, I met Nitin as our investment guru for the Marathi Vishwa funds. So he was the lead for the Marathi Vishwa investment committee. So welcome Nitin to Marathi Vishwa Sakhya.
Thank you.
And not only did he managed it pretty well. He managed it for the last 7 years. This year, we have a new investment committee lead, that is Vivek Patankar, who was also our ex-president. So Nitin is the current Marathi Vishwa trustee, and he guides all the Marathi Vishwa board of directors regarding anything that we might have to ask him. And he also raises pertinent questions regarding finance, programming, the way we are doing things, and he's doing a very good job. So I had asked Nitin, मी नितीनला गणपतीच्या वेळी भेटले होते आपल्या गणपती प्रोग्रामच्या वेळी तेव्हा विचारलं होतं की म्हटलं अशी कल्पना आहे डोक्यात हा प्रोग्राम करायची will you be happy? Will you be okay doing this? And I knew he would say yes, basically. And here we have NitinApte. So again, a big welcome to you and thank you very much for doing this program, Nitin. And I'm going to hand it over to you you take over now. I will be in the background. Anybody has questions, please feel free to put it on the chat. Nitin will be stopping every 10 minutes, 12 minutes to answer any question that you have. So this is an open forum. After he does a little bit of presentation, he will stop and say any questions. तुम्हाला प्रश्न असतील तर प्लीज आपल्या स्वतःला अनम्यूट करा आणि प्रश्न विचारा आणि this will be the format for today's program. So welcome everybody and Nitin, the floor is yours.
धन्यवाद अनघा. And it's an honor that I'm invited to present this topic to Marathi Vishwa Sakhya. And as Anagha said, the main purpose of this is education. Lot of things, some of these things may appear basic to you if you're already experienced in this. But I'm covering a gamut of things. And this is just to make you aware of these things. So some of these things, if you're not aware, even if you pick up one or two new things from this, that would be a big success. So I'm going to start this in a slideshow mode. So विषयाला हात घालण्याआधी अनघाने ऑलरेडी डिस्क्लेमर दिलेलाच आहे. हा माझा डिस्क्लेमर. पुणेरी भाषेत बोलायचं तर हे आजचं सेशन ऐकल्यावर तुम्ही घरी जाऊन काहीतरी जुगाड केलात आणि गोत्यात आलात तर मी किंवा अनघा किंवा मराठी विश्व सख्या जबाबदार नाही एवढंच सांगायचंय. टॉकिंग सिरियसली though, basically finance and any action in finance is very much a personal or individual a decision based on individual situation. There is nothing like one size fits all, so keep that in mind. So today's agenda, as I said, the focus is education, raising awareness. Mainly, I think Anagha wanted this as part of Nari Shakti, current empowerment of women through financial knowledge. Is that right, Anagha? Right? That's the focus here. So all of my presentation is going to be focused on that. As I said, we're going to touch on many topics, but not really go into detail of any. We don't have the time for that, and neither am I expert in all of them. Do feel free to ask questions. As I said, the 3 topics I have divided into. I'll stop. I hope to do each of them in roughly 10 minutes, and then 5 minutes Q&A. And after 45 minutes, if there are more questions, certainly we can go on after that. So the first topic here is financial awareness. As I said, the main focus here is to raise awareness about financial matters in women. Now, a lot of you may be already there, and this may be very preliminary. If especially if you are there with with your children in 20s and 30s, perhaps you can share some of this with them, because for them it's going to be very useful. In fact, my personal experience, my daughter just started working, and I had some of these conversations with her. So I'm kind of basing it on my personal experience. And for a long time, I have kind of approached it that way. For example, the very first topic, budgeting. I know women are many times known as the finance in charge of home finance, both in American culture as well as Indian culture. And perhaps an anecdote is the right thing to do here. So recently, लाल बहादूर शास्त्रींची जयंती झाली 2 ऑक्टोबरला. तर मला व्हॉट्सअपमधनं आलेलं एक त्याच्यावरती एक प्रसंग आला होता. सत्यता त्याची काही मी पडताळून पाहिलेली नाहीये. पण शास्त्री जेव्हा काँग्रेसचे सरचिटणीस म्हणून त्यांची नेमणूक झाली, बहुतेक 51-52 अशी वेळ असावी, म्हणजे जवळजवळ 70 वर्ष झाली. सो ते लक्षात ठेवा. तर त्यांना सरचिटणीस म्हणून नेमणूक झाल्यावर त्यांना महिना ₹60 पगार असं ठरलं, असं होता. ते 60 सगळा पगार आपल्या घरी जाऊन आपल्या पत्नीला द्यायचे आणि ती घरचं सगळं सांभाळायची. म्हणजे हे सांगायचं म्हणजे भारतात सुद्धा हे गेले 70 वर्ष चालू आहे. गृहिणी बऱ्याच वेळेला घरची सोय बघते. तर एकदा काय झालं, त्यांच्याकडे एक घरोब्यातली कोणी व्यक्ती आली आणि म्हणाली, माझ्या मुलाला आजार झालाय का, काही मेडिकल इश्यू आहे, त्यासाठी ₹60 लागतील मला, तुम्ही उधार द्याल का? तर शास्त्री म्हणाले, अरे माझा तर ₹60 पगार आहे, 60 मी कुठनं आणणार ₹60? तर बाजूला ललिताबाई, बहुतेक त्यांच्या पत्नीचं नाव, त्या म्हणाल्या, आहेत माझ्याकडे ₹60 आणि ह्याची तर निकड आहे खूप, तर आपण देऊ त्याला. ते ऐकल्यावर शास्त्री म्हणाले, नक्कीच असले तर आपण देऊ त्याला. त्यांनी त्याला दिले पैसे आणि ती व्यक्ती निघून गेली. मग त्यांनी ललिताबाईंना विचारलं, तू ₹60 आणलेस कुठनं? त्यामुळे तुम्ही ₹60 पगार मिळतात, तुम्ही घरी आणता, मी आपलं सगळं घर ₹55 चालवते आणि दर महिन्याला ₹5 वाचतात आपले. गेल्या वर्षभराचे ₹60 साठले होते, ते आपण त्याला दिले. याचा अर्थ त्या वेळेपासनं प्रत्येक गृहिणी असं बजेटिंग आणि सेव्हिंग करत आलेली आहे. या कथेचा शेवट जरा असा आहे की दुसऱ्या दिवशी शास्त्री काँग्रेसच्या अध्यक्षांकडे गेले आणि म्हणाले की माझं घर ₹55 चालतं, मला तुम्ही तेवढाच पगार द्या, ₹60 पगार द्यायची जरूर नाही. तर या फोरम मधल्या सगळ्या गृहिणींना मी आश्वासन देऊ शकतो की आत्ताच्या काळात कोणताही नवरा असं करणार नाहीये. Or if you are working women, I'm sure nobody is going to ask for a reduction in salary. The purpose here is to focus on the 4th line. I'm sure I have 4 lines at the top here underneath budgeting. You can read it. The purpose is to get saving. Every month you need to do budget by paying attention to different items so that you are saving every month on an ongoing basis, rather than saving being an accidental thing. Because if there are no savings, the rest of the stock is useless. If there's no savings, no money, no financial planning. So make sure you budget, you are aware of the budget, and you have some savings. I'm sure a lot of you are doing that, it's just, as I said, especially young generation. If there is young generation, perhaps they can focus on this. And there are a couple of ways of doing automated savings. You are well aware of that. Is just to reduce your take-home pay by putting something in the 401k, so your take-home pay is reduced. Or in terms of the even after long-term savings, you can do automated uh, transfers to your brokerage account or something monthly, so that it's automatically taken out. Take out any personal decision out of that. So that way you continue to have long-term savings. I think rest of it is self-explanatory. I don't need to get into that. But this is just a very high-level template. You can design your own template and see. And really, one part of budgeting people don't not necessarily pay attention to is there is forecasting in it. In the sense, you need to forecast future, like next 1 year. I think this is what is going to be. Uh, some of it is based on prior experience. Some of it is based on how the situation has changed. Because a lot of the first items you may not be able to change, but some items you can influence. For example, I'm going to get into some things about what you need for insurance. Insurance amount doesn't have to be an accidental thing. That can be budgeted into every month's budget. I think so far so good for budgeting. I believe unless there is a question I can answer later. So what are you going to do with all this money or assets accumulated? Now they're going to go into some sort of bank account, uh, brokerage account, whatever. You're going to buy something with it. So the most important thing for women and really for everybody is to understand the ownership of those assets. Whether it's a joint or individual. In legal terms, what you call titling of those assets. What is the title of that bank account? What is the title of that brokerage account? And the third bullet there, as I said, New Jersey and Pennsylvania and any of the states here are not community property state. I don't know if you are aware of that concept. But there are 9 states in the country which are considered community property states by law. They're all on the western side. So none of the states in the Northeast or really Eastern corridor are community property states. So we don't have to worry about it. What is a community property state? In a community property state, any property, marital property, is considered 50-50. Whereas in a non-community property state like New Jersey, it is supposed to be distributed equitably, not equally, not 50-50. Now, this is what we are talking about in terms of divorce, and we're not going to get into that kind of situation here. But that's what the community property state definition is, whether it's 50-50 versus equitable distribution. So this other aspect of this is entitling. If you work for a company in California who gave you stocks or not stock options, stocks, they will ask you how you want to title those stocks. And in community property, there is no choice. The stock has to be titled in both husband and wife's name if you're married. In New Jersey, you have a choice to title it just individually or jointly. So that's just the point of that bullet. I would suggest many of your quote unquote after tax account, you should title them jointly, so that both in the unfortunate event of death, you're automatically entitled to that account. And also in the event that a person is incapacitated, either husband or wife, the other person can operate that account very easily. Now, in today's world, operation is a little bit different in the sense, mostly the operation is via internet. So it simply means, username and password. That's all it means. But it should be ideally titled correctly, jointly, so that you can operate it. Now, there are certain accounts which cannot be joint, of course, like IRAs, 401ks, most of the tax deferred accounts. They have to be individual accounts. So in that case, make sure that you have proper beneficiaries on those accounts. For example, if the husband owns the account, the wife should be the beneficiary and vice versa. But more important, there is something called contingent beneficiaries. Like not only husband and wife, but you can have secondary beneficiaries, either your children or whatever the case may be, that they are the secondary beneficiaries. I can tell you even today, not all brokerages or banks are ready to handle it in an easy way. Like you cannot go to a website, all of them. If you go to Fidelity, you can do it, but not all brokerages and banks. You can just go to the website and say, my primary beneficiary is my wife, 100%, and my secondary beneficiary is 50%, each my two children or whoever. You cannot do that on the web. I had to call them and tell them this is what my need is, and you have to basically pursue it. The point is to pursue it to get this done. So make sure your account is titled, all your accounts are titled correctly. And I'm even talking real estate and all that, but I'm just giving example of bank accounts and brokerage accounts. They're titled correctly and there are beneficiaries on it. Now I did put the bullet, a joint, trust and corporate account. So if you have, some of you who own businesses will have corporate accounts and there could be a trust account. There's a completely different ball game. We're not going to get into that right now. So I'm just talking of a simple case of individual or joint accounts. And of course, the question of wills comes into play. Again, I'm not an expert. Anaga could schedule a session on that if people need to. But the reason I'm mentioning that is if you have all your financial accounts properly titled with proper beneficiaries, the will is becomes secondary. So you don't have to worry about in the unfortunate event of death, how do I get that money? Because if there is a proper beneficiary or proper ownership, will come into play for a real estate or other things. And of course, just a note that if there are, I don't know if there are women here who have minor children, then of course it's important to have a will because it's a non-financial situation. In the will only you can designate who will be the guardian for your children. So it's important from that perspective. Moving on to the next topic, just like we talked about bank account and brokerage account ownership, even for credit cards, it's important to have, you can have a joint account. It's different than your husband having a credit card and wife and even children being the authorized users versus a credit card being applied for jointly, or in some cases, just the woman applies for credit card and husband is user, because that eventually will matter in your credit score. So just like owning assets, owning credit is important in your name. So keep that in mind. And just to make this all easy, I think I touched on it earlier, try to make everything automated. Like I said, you can have a certain amount taken out of your bank account into your brokerage account automatically. Simple thing like linking your saving and checking account within your bank. Sometimes it's not there. There is a downside to it. If you have 100,000 in your saving account and 1,000 in your checking account, some fraudulent attempt in your checking account will limit it from not attacking your saving account. But typically that's not the case. You may have just 5,000 in your checking account, and in the situation where you kind of need to pull that money automatically, it's good to have that linked. But you can have links to all other banks and brokerages you have. That way, everything is automated, everything is paperless. Your, it does not depend on when you have time and when you actually get this done. So I will take questions on this, but before that, I want to just show these useful resources. Beyond this talk, if any of you want to go into any detail, today's world is all based on web and based on Google. So you can Google, and I actually Googled in preparation for this talk, what are the 10 best websites for personal finance? And the top one everywhere was the third one here, wisebread.com. The reason I put it third was because I haven't myself used it. I looked at it when I prepared for it. It's a very useful site, no doubt. So definitely go there. mymoney.gov is actually a government website. And both of these websites do the kind of education, not just what I talked about in the first slide, but also what I'm going to talk about in future slides. So if you want to learn more, definitely go visit all these sites here. Bankrate.com is a site I have exclusively used. That doesn't give a lot of education per se, but if you're looking for any kind of rate comparisons, whether rate on mortgages, rate on credit cards, rate on CDs, rate on checking accounts, any kind of rate, go to bankrate.com, you will get the comparison. And I've used it extensively for a lot of my, whenever I need some information like that. I also listed two sites here, hermoney.com and LFS, because those are run by prominent women and for women. Both those websites are actually dedicated towards or targeted towards women. Towards women. Jean Chadsky has been a personal finance expert for many years. I have heard her, seen her books, and now she has this site, hermoney.com, again, targeted for the women. Elevest is the site started by Sally Krawcheck, who was a Citigroup uh, executive for a long time. And I think sometime in the last 10 years, I think she has started this. I believe elevest.com is member-only site, so you have to pay a fee, but the magazine is free, so there is, of course, a learning experience. If you want to go beyond these 5 or many other websites, I said you can just do Google and find many websites, and I haven't listed them all here. You can go deeper by learning things like finance on Khan Academy. I mean, Salman Khan has really revolutionized the way we learn, whether it's finance or computer coding or anything else. You can learn it at Khan Academy. And there are many other resources. And again, I listed the two women prominent in this field, Sharon Efferson on CNBC and Susie Orman. I'm sure you have heard the name. You can do Google, you can do website search and learn a lot. Again, there is no limit to how much you want to learn. Maybe so much that next year Anagha will invite you for the presentation, and rather than me. So that brings to the end my first topic, financial awareness. I'll take any questions on that, and maybe I'll go back to my first slide.
Mhm.
If there are any questions on that.
Okay, any questions? काही प्रश्न आहे का? कोणालाही काही प्रश्न?
Just this is Lata Fadke. I just wanted to ask the question, experience सांगते की when I wanted to buy a car on my own, I didn't have my own credit score because the credit card was on Madhav's name. So later I learned that I should have the credit card on my name, and then I can build my own credit score. Both of us can use each other's cards. But the thing is, because of that, it was easy for me to get the car loan afterwards.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm talking. As a lot of people have gone through these experiences, and this may be very basic for them, but I'm kind of slated. This is a very broad presentation. Share it with children who are in 20s and 30s if they're just learning this. Moving on to the next topic is financial planning. So we're not there yet. I know you have saved money and you know what to do with that money now. But before we actually start investing and do other planning, not only you need to save, but you need to make sure you are taken care of emergencies. So there are different benchmarks. People use 6 months to 12 months of budgeted funds you need to have as an emergency. And of course, budget again important. You need to know how much per month your family spends so that you can do that 6 months to 8 months, 6 months to 12 months. Now that's not universal. Like somebody may say, I already have $1 million in my brokerage account. I can always take out 50,000 if I need an emergency, and that is true. So again, this is more like people who are just starting. They cannot jump into the pool before they have taken care of emergencies. And some of the emergencies you are taking care of through insurance. So health, auto, home, everybody knows about. But the disability, long-term life insurance, AD&D, many of it, if you're employed, your employer may be offering those, and you may be taken care of, but just be aware. Again, this session is all about awareness. So just be aware that you don't want calamitous occasions to derail your plan completely. In that case, all these insurance become important, not necessarily in 20s and 30s, but definitely when you're in 40s, you need to be thinking about disability long term. And I listed AD&D there. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of it. Accidental death and dismemberment. That's much cheaper than life insurance, perhaps like 90% cheaper. But it's only activated in case of an accident, and it has a dismemberment benefit, which is very important. Again, talk to your favorite insurance agent. There are many in the community if you don't have any. There is a disability insurance as part of Social Security. So it will kick in if you have long-term disability. So if you need to buy your own disability insurance, take into account what Social Security will be offering, and then if you need anything in addition to that. And we're not going to talk about any other insurance, but as I said, just pointing to those. If you're not aware, if there is a gap in any of these things, try to fill that gap before you move on.
So Social Security disability also kicks in after 40 quarters, 40 working quarters. त्याच्यानंतर ते तुम्हाला पैसे देतात actually. So if you have less than that, I think your benefit reduces. But if you have 40, then if you have worked 40
you mean you have contributed 40 quarters,
40
right?
quarters, yeah.
You have contributed in 40 quarters.
Yeah.
But there is also perhaps a waiting period, like 6 months or a year, I don't know.
Yeah, there is a 6-month waiting period. So if you have a disability insurance through your employer, that first 6 months gets covered. And normally disability to prove for Social Security, it's a little harder. There त्यांची जी category आहे permanent disability ची, it's the bar is very high. That's what I've heard. So
Good information. So once you're covered for emergencies and situations which you don't want to derail your savings and plans, then you get into this area of how much and what do I need? And coming from an engineering background, when I started first in finance, I realized there is only one equation called present value formula, which dictates everything.
yes.
But it's not just that easy. I mean, but I said, oh, there's only one equation. That's it. That's all it is, really. You don't have to be crunching numbers to those equations. I listed a few sites here, and the calculator site. I think I tried to. I'm not going to click on it. I can click on it, I guess. Forget.
Just take you there.
Yeah. So you can go to the calculated site. All these calculators, like mortgage calculator, retirement calculator, auto loan calculator. There are many, 10 different calculators there. You can go and do it yourself. Mortgage, if you're taking mortgage, how much, if you're getting a mortgage at 3% for $500,000, how much all those kind of things. You need to do that yourself so that you can plan, you can budget, plan, and then execute. And of course, the third calculator listed is a nerd wallet for retirement calculator. If I save $500 a month, what it will give me after 30 years? You can do those kind of calculations, or vice versa. If I want $1 million after 30 years, how much do I need to save? And of course, what assumptions I'm going to use. So all those things you can do by retirement calculators. So visit any of these calculator sites to do your own number crunching. This is the problem with me trying to click that site. Let me just see why I'm frozen here.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I need to. Cannot move.
Hit escape.
Yeah, I'm hitting escape multiple times. Let me. Okay, I think I got it now. I got it. Can you see me still? Right?
Yeah. Yes.
I think I might have gotten out of Zoom or something. I mean,
okay.
My screen got. Okay, this was the site.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you've taken care of your emergencies, let me get there. Okay. I don't know why I'm not going to slideshow. Okay. Okay, it's good. Once you've taken care of emergencies and your calculations, potentially long-term assets. I mean, there are many short terms you can think about, those will go into, I think I mentioned somewhere, short-term saving for your vacations and all that, you could use that. But I think most of the time people are building long-term savings for long-term assets of four kinds. Home ownership, everybody is aware of that, and you can use your mortgage calculators for that planning. But not just your own home. Some people may just say, I want to invest in real estate, second, third home, collect rent, and that could be simply their retirement plan, whatever. For everything else, they're more comfortable with that, and that's perfectly fine. There are some vehicles now which are available that you could actually have home ownership. I mean, secondary homes, investment homes, through IRAs and for 401k depends on your employer's rules, but definitely through IRAs. It is possible. I've of course not done that, and it could be complicated. But that could be one way. You just stay focused on home ownership and do nothing else. Typically, most of the people want either the majority or at least some of it to go into some kind of a financial assets. So for education planning, retirement planning, and then simple taxable accounts, which are actually tax. You're not getting any tax benefit, but there is no limit on when you can withdraw or when you can use that money. Again, very high level in terms of education planning. A lot of people may be aware of this FAFSA form which you need to fill. But before you even fill the FAFSA form, perhaps you need to be aware of something called EFC, expected family contribution, which you can calculate yourself. And you can check the formula on the web itself. But if there is no money in a child's name, or the child is not earning, assuming that, it takes 6% of a parent's assets, and I believe 20% of their income. That's how they calculate expected family contribution. Now, if expected family contribution by this calculation comes to 100,000, you won't qualify for any benefit. So you can just forget about filing FAFSA. If it comes to 10,000, you can file FAFSA and you can look for some benefits. Outside of that, there are 529 plans with most of the brokerages available. The only restriction on these plans is you cannot make changes to it too frequently. Twice a year, you are allowed to make changes in the investments in it. But otherwise, the money goes tax deferred, and if you take it out for education, there's no tax on it. It's definitely useful plans. And my account in the minor's name, I would say not preferred necessarily for education planning, but that's also another way. Child is born today and you put money in his or her name, it does give you some tax advantages. There is a limit to it, how much tax advantage you get, but there is certainly an advantage. And perhaps you can finish that money before the child becomes 18 by buying a laptop or cell phone from that money, so that that money is not counted when they apply for college. Okay. In retirement planning, 401ks, or if somebody works for a public non-profit, 403bs. So the order of where you want to put money in, definitely start with 401k or 403b, where your employer is matching. You definitely want to maximize the match. So that's first, the first priority you need to do in your savings. You can add more to 401k, 403bs as much as you're willing to, subject to IRS limits. I think today's the limits are 19,500 per year, and for people over 50 is 26,000 per year. So you can save basically tax deferred in 401k, 403bs. Outside of that, you can put money in Roth or regular IRA. So there are again IRS limits, income limits, if you can contribute to Roth. But in today's world, there is absolutely no reason not to go to Roth, because people who are exceeding the income limit, let's say you are a family jointly between husband and wife earning 200,000 plus, you won't qualify for putting money in Roth. But there is a backdoor way which has been opened since 2010. You can put money in regular IRA, not, it's called non-deductible IRA, up to 6,000, and immediately next day convert it into Roth. So that's a backdoor IRA open to everybody without your income, without consideration to work what your current income is. And I would urge everybody to use that. The only thing you have to be careful about is if you have other IRAs already existing, if you have 100,000 in other IRA, your tax considerations have come into play before you convert. But if you, all your money is in 401k and taxable accounts and you have no IRA, you should not wait, but put money in that regular IRA, convert it next day to Roth IRA, and put money in, use that back door available to everybody. I would say those are the two main vehicles people are doing retirement planning. After that, perhaps you should put money in taxable accounts, which are listed at the bottom here, because that's when it's available for use anytime. But if you do think you have money which you need to still have more tax deferred, you need to take advantage. There are annuity funds. Remember, I'm not talking annuity, just annuity funds. So it's simply a tax deferred vehicle. There is no limit to it. You can put 100,000 in a year in annuity funds. These are available with the standard brokerage firms. I will mention those later. And that simply money goes tax deferred until, all the first three lines here have limit that if you withdraw the money before age 59 and a half, you will pay 10% penalty if it is not for qualified reason, hardship or something else. So, but yeah, you can put money in life in annuity funds. You don't have to annuitize it. It's not same as annuity, because a lot of people have apprehensions about annuity. Yes, insurance agents have been known to sell annuity with 8% commissions. They're allowed to, but that's what it is. So people do have apprehensions, but Vanguard and Fidelity has annuity funds, which is very low cost, and there is absolutely no sales charge. The fourth item is life, life insurance for insurance need is one thing, but your insurance friends will tell you that you can have life insurance, which you build a cash value, excuse me, which you build a cash value, and that could be a vehicle for your retirement plan. Talk to your favorite insurance agent. I know there are many in the community if you are interested in exploring that.
Okay.
And finally, as part of Social Security and Medicare, that's one leg of a retirement, but not the whole thing. Remember, that's not going to suffice you for your retirement. You need to have something else provided in your retirement. Yes, Anaka,
नितिन एक प्रश्न होता है. So आता 401k 401(k) suppose I pass away and the 401k goes to my son, will he have to pay taxes on that? Anything?
So both 401ks and IRAs, there are, I think those rules are changing. I think the rules is going to be 10 years. He will have 10 years to withdraw it, so that he will pay tax on it. Remember, any 401k is basically tax
Deferred.
Before tax.
Before tax.
So anytime it's taken out, whether you take it out, your beneficiary takes out, you have to pay tax on it. Okay. The question is when and how much I can minimize it. Let's say you have $1 million in your 401k, and your son doesn't have to take out $1 million in one shot and pay the tax on it, because that will be a huge amount.
Okay.
You can take it out in stepwise manner. I believe the rule is going to be, or it already is, that the beneficiary will be allowed 10 years to take it out.
Okay.
One advantage of Roth IRA is that it's forever tax-free once it is there.
Yeah.
Even your beneficiaries will not pay tax on it. It's called inherited IRA.
Okay.
Famously, Mitt Romney had multi-million-dollar Roth IRA accounts for him and his children.
Okay.
Remember how we accumulated that, but that's a different story.
Okay, so holding on to that, so even for life insurance, if it's a life insurance that your employer provided you,
Mhm.
and if you pass away, the
Yeah.
money will be taxed. But if it was your own personal paid life insurance and it goes to your, like if you had a $1 million policy on yourself and you pass away, it goes to your child, but it goes to your child. The child does not
Without
have
tax.
to put any tax on that $1 million. But
Very good point. Very good
yeah,
point.
but if you
That
had it,
applies to all. That applies to all. I am also mentioned
everybody.
disability. No, that disability insurance. If
Mm-hmm.
you take disability insurance on your own,
Mm-hmm.
there is no tax on it. If it is through the
Okay.
employer,
Okay.
everything coming through the employer will be taxed,
Will be taxed. Yeah.
and everything on your own will not be taxed.
Yeah, because this is a question in my previous life, I know a lot of people used to say, well, I have life insurance through my employer. Yes, but you don't understand. You have $150,000 life insurance. You pass away, the government is going to come and grab 35,000. Your
Yeah.
family is left with 110, and then in
Yeah.
1 year, that whole money is gone.
Yeah.
So that was it.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's, I mean, typically in your 20s and 30s, and if you talk to your children right now, they'll say, for what? Life insurance or what? Who is the beneficiary and what do I need it for? Which is correct in a way. But I think the time to get life insurance on your own
Yeah.
outside employment is perhaps late 30s, sometime definitely in the 40s. You
Mm-hmm.
need to think about that my employment is not necessarily constant in today's world. It's going to change.
All
I
right.
need to have my own life insurance, and it can be term life. It doesn't have to be, again, talk to your insurance agent. There are different types of life. But you need to have some kind of life insurance which is constantly with you, irrespective of the employer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that need definitely comes to, in full
And
force.
another, yeah, so how I saw it was I did take out, so this is a little personal, but I did take out life insurance for my son also when
Okay.
he turned 18. My idea is I will give it to his wife when he gets married. I will
Right.
pay for it,
Mhm.
and it will also be beneficial for him when he goes to buy a house, because
Yes.
then he can say that, yes, I am, I want to get this loan, but I have this much of a life insurance,
Right.
basically. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, there are, I said, all the insurances will tell you
Right.
there are benefits of buying what they call whole life policy earlier because you build a cash value. But that's a different
Different
discussion.
story.
Yeah. So how we are doing? Okay. Um, so I think that's it in terms of financial planning. We are at the 45-minute mark. So I'm going to cover the third topic, investment, unless there are burning questions here, and this
I
will take
wanted
up
to
the.
learn about annuity funds, but maybe I can talk to you offline about that. I had never heard annuity funds. I know about annuities, how they
Okay.
work.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll talk to you offline.
I mean, just go to Vanguard.com or Fidelity.com,
Mm-hmm.
and you will see annuities, and you can start putting money in annuity funds, basically.
Okay.
Just like you put $100, $500 in a regular mutual fund, taxable mutual fund, or
Okay.
IRAs, you put in annuity funds. They are not the same funds. They are a little bit different.
Okay.
Basically, the same thing they do.
Nitin, I have a question.
Yes, Mukund.
This is Mukund. I do have 403Bs. I also have 457B. Do I still need to take IRA, the regular IRA or not?
A regular IRA is not needed. And in fact, in your case, as I said, you can just, you don't have a regular IRA, you can just use that opportunity to build Roth IRA. As I said, use the back door
Because
to.
I've already taken 403B and of course maximize that, and 457B also, which is I'm eligible for because
Yeah,
of my age. That is also maximized.
right. I mean, that's a choice. I'm not saying it's needed,
Okay.
but that's a choice. That's an additional vehicle. And as I said, it's always good to have money in Roth IRA because that's even transferred to your children, always tax free. So if you don't have IRA, you can just open an IRA, convert it into Roth next day,
Okay.
and build your Roth IRA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's also pre-tax.
No, it's not. None of this is pre-tax. It will be after tax.
This is after. Roth IRA is after tax, not the 403B type of.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we can of course talk more. So in general, anybody has a follow-up question, they can always talk to me afterwards. My phone number is on the Marathi Visual site. You can see from there. And if there is a item which a lot of people need, Anagha has said she will, not necessarily with me, but there are many other experts. She can schedule a session, focus on those topics.
Yeah.
So in terms of investments, I'm not going to talk much about bank account and CDs, except the emergency funds I talked about earlier. Perhaps they need to be in that kind of vehicle where they're completely safe, because that's the only thing which is insured by the government. Right now, no CDs, even 5 years, will give you more than 1%. So perhaps this is really should not be considered too much unless you need to have an emergency fund in some situation. Even and after the financial crisis, it was easy to find CDs with 2.5% interest, but not anymore. So basically that leads to brokerage accounts, and you can have money in, unless you are a sophisticated investor, you should have all your money in exchange traded funds and mutual funds. I would say one simple rule I will use is, if you're putting money on a kind of a monthly or periodic basis, whatever, $500 a month, you should put it in a mutual fund. That way you just keep on adding to it. But if there is a lump sum you want to put once, buy once, and maybe sell once later, use exchange traded fund, because you can basically trade it during the day. You can have more control in terms of exactly what price you want to sell and what price you want to buy. Mutual funds don't give you that luxury. And third, you can have much more granularity. For example, if you want to buy gold and precious metals related fund, you may not find too many mutual funds. I mean, there are ETFs of all kinds of things available right now, literally all kinds of things. So that gives you more granularity. If you are a sophisticated investor, of course, you can get into individual stocks, bonds, all kinds of options and derivatives, and the scope of the stock doesn't get there. So remember, there are 3 types of account you need to be aware of: taxable, tax-free, and tax-deferred. What Anagha mentioned earlier, 401k is tax-deferred account. Eventually, you're going to pay tax on it, but it's deferred right now. But once you put money in Roth IRA, that's basically tax-free. With certain conditions, when you take the money out, the principal as well as the gains are tax-free. And of course, other accounts, ordinary accounts, are taxable. So you need to be aware, if you're doing investments of mutual funds, exchange traded funds, individual stocks and bonds, whatever tax rules apply to those transactions, you need to be aware of that. In those other accounts, you don't need to worry about it. You can just do the transactions without any worry to taxes. So that's the advantage. I already talked about automatic investing, how you can build the portfolios. So, and mutual fund perhaps is the best vehicle to do that. And be aware of the IRS limits for, basically whatever you're doing, Roth IRA or 401ks, there are all limits to that. The reasoning I'm mentioning it here because everybody should take advantage of these limits. Let's say you can put 6,000 in Roth IRA, but you don't feel comfortable investing in today, like thinking that the market is high. You can actually put 6,000 in cash in that Roth IRA. That way you're taken advantage of the IRS limit and it's in that vehicle. Okay. How to deploy that cash to buy whatever stocks or whatever, that could be later. There is no limit to that. So have the money in the respective accounts, taking advantage of the IRS limits or paying heed to the limits. And actually investment, cash versus funds versus stocks versus bonds or whatever mix you want, that can be done within the account. Just be aware of that.
Okay. And Nitin, what about employee ESPP plans? So most of the employers have ESPP, even my employer has. Yeah. That's a good way of buying stocks, but is there again, over the years you gain a lot of stocks. So is there
ESPP, I know a lot of people do it this way, and I don't know exactly what JP Morgan offers, but most of the time ESPP comes with 15% discount.
Yeah, 15. Yeah, we get 15 and they take an average of 3 months. Right. For the price, and they will execute one stock order for everybody at that time.
So many people actually turn it over right away. Basically, they're saying, I'm getting this 15% discount, plus I'm getting a potentially a better price because of that averaging. As soon as they get it, they will sell it right away, and that's allowed. Most of the ESP plans has no restrictions to that.
Mhm.
So that's a way to saying, okay, I'm just adding to my income on ongoing basis in this manner. Of course, there are tax implications. If you sell it right away, you will be paying that short-term gains tax. But think like that: if you're making $10,000 that way, you're adding that to your $180,000 salary. So think about it: that you're getting 10,000 extra salary,
Yeah.
and it's subject to the same income tax.
Yeah,
If
no,
you
but
do
what I
feel,
wanted to know was like, should you limit that also? Because over the years, like every year, every quarter they buy, they keep
yeah,
buying.
mhm,
आणि सडनली काय होतं खूप स्टॉक्स होतात त्याचे
right.
एकाच कंपनीचे खूप स्टॉक होतात.
Which should be a concern. So if you should not limit for a participation, because you can just turn it over right away. But if you're accumulating it, then you need to pay attention to how much single company stock you're accumulating,
Okay,
how
okay.
much percentage of your total portfolio it is.
Mhm.
If you're not paying attention to individual stocks, I would say none of the you should not have more than 5%, ideally even 2.25% in any particular company if you have a diversified portfolio. Plus, the other downside of you owning the stock of the company you are working in, if the company is going down doesn't have good fortunes, your
Right.
job could be affected as well as that stock. So
Stock,
it's a
right.
double whammy.
Okay.
So I think there is a lot of incentive to have not too much money accumulated in that ESPP.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, if you're just turning it over, absolutely no problem. You should not limit it to anything. You can go maximum. I think they would allow 15%
Okay.
of your income to buy. Just turn it over. You can maybe accumulate part of it and then see where it is.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So a lot of these investments, of course, you can talk to your financial advisor, investment advisor. I said there are many in the community. I'm one of them, but you can do it on your own. And all this session is about learning and doing things on your own. So again, the disclaimer at the bottom, I'm not necessarily recommending that you go to these funds, but I use them extensively. You can go to Fidelity or Vanguard, learn about what funds they have. And for people who are starting early, for people who are just starting, and I'm really talking of the crowd in their 20s and 30s, and maybe 40s, depending on this personal situation, they should start in one of these funds, diversified fund, just putting in some money. Okay? And tell this to you if for people who have kids in that age category, 20s and 30s, tell them that they should at least try to save some money and have automatic investing for the future in this manner by putting in some of these funds. Because automatic investing and dollar cost averaging, as they call, is really for the long term. If you're not investing for more than 10 years, there's no point in putting $100 in a fund for 5 years and say, now I want to take it out. Stock market can go either way. So really, it has to be more than 10 years. Ideally, if it is 30 years for the crowd in their 20s and 30s, it is a great way to get started. So, of course, there are many other brokerage firms. You can go to your favorite brokerage, but I just put on something. If somebody comes to me and I have a one-on-one consultation, perhaps I would recommend one of these. So that we kind of come to the conclusion of our talk.
All right. So
I
first,
do have some takeaways, but you can read them. I
no,
don't
no,
have to.
that's fine. But I just want to go over what you had talked about. So first you had talked about budgeting, right?
Mhm,
That everybody, man, woman, child, whoever is earning money should basically know about how much money they are getting in,
mhm.
how, fixed in terms of fixed expenses का है, discretionary expenses का है. Make a budget or know your budget, know how much money is coming into the house, going out of the house. त्याची तुमच्याकडे यादी पाहिजेच म्हणजे.
बरोबर.
आणि once you start saving, so what are the different ways of saving? तुम्ही ते सगळे आज explain केले, like you have, most of us work for some kind of a firm, so you will have 401k, सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे, पण ते match होतं आणि मॅक्स केलं की तुम्हाला कंपनी पण मॅक्स पैसे देते, राईट?
Exactly.
त्याच्यावरून
Again, consider that as a free addition to your
the
salary.
additional money. Yeah. So what JP Morgan does is it only matches once a year. I mean, I found that.
Okay.
So they don't match every month. They wait for the whole year to go.
Whole year, okay.
Yes, and then they will
want to
match
make
it
sure
the
you're
next year.
around.
They want to make sure you're around. So people are around. And same also, you know, your bonus also. They ask, what do you want to do with your bonus? So do you want it to go into your 401k? So of course, at that time I say yes. ESPP, like then you have all different financial vehicles also, but depends on what you want to do. Taxable आहेत का, tax deferred आहेत का. So all those things are there. So we talked about IRAs, Roth IRAs. I like that thing about IRA to Roth IRA. I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
So that was interesting. Annuity funds I didn't know about. That was also interesting. आणि तुम्ही ते बाकीचे पण हे शेअर केले होते आमच्या बरोबर. Those sites, I think I like those. I had not heard about her money. जीन चार्स्की बद्दल ती NBC वरती यायची, मी तिला कायम बघायचे. Suze Orman also. I have books of Suze Orman. But I think what I think every woman should also do is make sure that they have a will also at home. And not only that, do they have it, they should review it annually also to make changes to it. Yeah. Life changes, circumstances changes, so make sure you have that. Make sure you have a day in a year when you and your husband sit down and discuss finances. You can do it like, you know, आता ते आपल्याला म्हणतात ना, change your fire alarm batteries on a particular day, you know. So you can choose a day when you know you can take a day off, sit and do your finances. Make sure titles are there. A lot of people are also not sure about titles also. की घरावरती कोणाचं नाव आहे, accounts वरती कोणाची नाव आहे. That is another to do thing that most people here also should think about. Anything else that I missed out on from today's task?
You had a good summary actually, and I said financial awareness, and that's why I put this last slide. You know, first take interest in what is going on, the flow of money.
Right.
Where is it coming? How much it is coming? Where is it going? And then how you deploy it.
Yeah.
Be aware of that. Track it. You know, you can see your accounts, you know, once in a while. If not, some people are obsessed. They will see it every day.
Right.
But you can see it, you know, once a week, once a month, whatever it is. And as I said, discuss with your partner where we are, where we want to go. As I said, you can do a deep dive yourself by doing research on your own. You web and Google, of course. And then if you're stuck, if you have specific questions, ask the people in the field. I'm sure you will get answers from, you know, anybody who asks you, whether you're an investment, financial advisor, insurance agent, whoever it is.
Okay. Any questions for Nitin before we sign off?
Yeah. Hi, Anaga. This is Ulka. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Nitin, India मध्ये इन्व्हेस्ट करायचं असेल किंवा काय तर त्याला टॅक्स इम्प्लिकेशन्स असतात का? इंडियामध्ये जर तुम्हाला काही
So yes, I mean basically IRS will say you have worldwide income. You need to pay tax on it. Now, if you do invest in India if you are investing in some way in dollar term, for example, I'll just give you an example. If you want to invest in Indian stocks, you don't have to actually have an Indian account. I mentioned ETF, exchange traded funds. There are exchange traded funds which invest in Indian stocks, but they are in dollar terms. You buy it right here. Indi or Inda, pick one. INDY or INDA. I'm not recommending it, but I'm telling you these are the two funds which invest in Indian stocks. You can do it that way. But if you want to actually have an account in India, which will be a rupee account, you can certainly do that. IRS will want to know about all your accounts. Nowadays, India is getting, you know, their cooperation, or I shouldn't say cooperation, they are kind of linked now with IRS. So a lot of banks will ask you that their KYC questionnaire in Indian banks will ask you what citizenship you have. They will even they have started asking you social security number. Okay. So you will, whatever the gains are there, you will be paying taxes. If the investment is in rupees, a little bit the tricky question is, it's in rupees. How do you have to convert rupees to dollars, and do you take into account the currency conversion, and then how do you report to it? So, but yes, everything is taxable. Nothing you can
But even real estate is taxable? That's what her question is.
If, or her question is real estate, sorry, I missed that. Okay. Real estate only if it is, if there is a transaction. If there is a transaction, if you buy real estate for $100,000 and sell it for $150,000, that becomes a
Okay.
taxable event. Just owning is not.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So thank you, Nitin. Thanks for coming. I don't think people have any questions, but I do want people to think about it. Come back to me. Mala personally ping kara. If you want anything else, like if you want any other session from Nitin, we will be glad to host another one for you with some specific topic in mind. So नक्की कळवा नितीनला मला काय तुम्हाला ऐकायचं असेल तर पुढे आणि नितीन फ्रॉम MV सख्या व्हेरी बिग थँक्यू आणि तू आलास आज बोलला इकडे खूप बरं वाटलं दिस इज लाईक अ पेट प्रोजेक्ट ऑफ माइन ऑल्सो दॅट पीपल शुड बी अवेअर पैसे कुठून येतात कुठून जातात keep telling my son also but I think he's doing much more better than I am in that regard but thank you very much and most probably we will have a lot of questions coming back from people and I will reach out to you regarding that. But next couple of, I'm very sure we will keep some future topic also for you to talk about. So you like ETFs, maybe we can talk about ETFs next time. All right?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you
you, everybody, and good night.